Good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Dr. Salazar, Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. Mayo, members of the board, this evening we have students from Lopez-Riggins Elementary and Olmito Elementary to help lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, I'd like to call to the lectern principal of Lopez-Riggins Elementary, Mr. Oscar de la Rosa, to introduce us. Tonight he'll introduce us to a couple of wranglers.
Good evening, Mr. Amaya, members of the board, Dr. Salazar, public audience. It's my pleasure to introduce a couple of our wranglers this evening from Lopez-Riggins Elementary. First, we have Matthew Gomez. Matthew is a 5th grade student at Lopez-Riggins Elementary. He's the son of Elvia and Matias Gomez. Matthew is an A honor student and has had perfect attendance since pre-K. He participates in many clubs at LRE. He has a passion for music and is currently taking piano and guitar lessons. His aspiration to get a degree in science or biology when he attends Texas A&M University. Matthew's goal is to become a scientist. He has a bright future ahead of him. Matthew Gomez.
Aranza Rueda is also a 5th grade student at Lopez-Riggins Elementary. Aranza is the daughter of Mr. Manuel Rueda and Ms. Rosa Margarita Lara. She attended kindergarten in San Luis Potosí. Aranza has been an A honor roll student since 1st grade. She is involved in many clubs at Lopez-Riggins. Her favorite hobby is to read. Her goal is to attend the University of Oxford or Harvard University to pursue a degree in education or in the medical field. Aranza is on her way to an awesome future.
And now we welcome the instructional officer at Olmito Elementary, Ms. Rosemary Martinez.
Good evening, Mr. Amaya, members of the board, and Dr. Salazar. I'm here to introduce 2 great students from Olmito Elementary. We first have Arlette Montserrat Perez, age 4. She is the daughter of Elsie Perez and Raul Perez. Arlette is in Mr. Juarez's early childhood class at Olmito Elementary. Over the last year, Arlette has grown academically and socially. She is maturing and is becoming more independent. Arlette is able to point to pictures and books with hand-over-hand assistance. She is also able to turn pages from a book. Arlette is inquisitive with her surroundings. She is able to follow simple directions, enjoys dancing and singing along with her peers. In math, Arlette is able to understand one-to-one correspondence and provide you one or more objects when asked. Arlette will greet teachers in the mornings with a fist pump and wave goodbye with a smile at the end of the day. And that is Arlette. Our next student is Ian Nazaren Gonzalez. He is a kindergarten student at Olmito Elementary. He is in Ms. Perales and Mrs. Molina's class. He is a hard worker, full of enthusiasm, and never ceases to amaze his teachers. He enjoys learning all of the subjects and is an A honor roll student. To this day, he has earned a total of 4.5 accelerated reading points. Ian is full of adventure and happiness. He enjoys school and making people laugh. His favorite hobbies include playing outside, spending time with his family, reading, dancing, and recording many video productions. And that is Ian Nazaren Gonzalez.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Ladies and gentlemen, these children are here to help lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please stand for the pledge?
We have the parents of our proud students here. Proud parents, I bet, as well. Please stand so we can recognize. Thank you. Always a highlight of our meetings. Dr. Salazar, roll call. Oh, well, no, not Dr. Salazar, roll call. Mr. Garza?
Mr. Jesus Amaya.
Present.
I'm Leonel Garza. I'm present. Ms. Sandra Garcia, absent. Mr. Martin Castillo.
Present.
Ms. Darlene Peterson.
Present.
Mr. Ray Farias. Mr. Ruben Trevino.
Present.
Mr. Dr. Gonzalo Salazar.
Present.
And Ms. Priscilla de la Garza.
Present.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. That was my, I should have been calling on Mr. Castillo. I apologize for that. I caught him by surprise. I'm sorry. We're going to proceed with a couple of, we don't normally have public hearings in this manner. Usually it's a separate agenda, but tonight we're going to step out of what we normally do. We have 2 public hearings tonight. I'll let you speak to them, Dr. Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Amaya, members of the board, members of the audience. The State School Financial Accountability Rating System, known as the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, or the FIRST, is a measure of the quality of a district's financial management practices. The system is designed to encourage Texas public schools to provide the maximum allocation possible to direct instructional purposes. This evening, Mr. Young will share the details of our accountability rating for the FIRST. Mr. Young.
Thank you, Dr. Salazar. Mr. Amaya, members of the board, and the public audience. This evening, we are fulfilling our requirement to hold a public hearing to discuss the district's financial integrity rating system of Texas. If you're not familiar with it, for some of y'all out there, it's the finances of the district are rated in a similar fashion to the academics of the district. Earlier this year, you noticed that TEA had assigned a rating of A. TEA uses a rating system of A through F. They assigned a letter grade of A to the district in student accountability. And tonight I wanted to talk about what rating they've assigned us for financial responsibility. So the first was developed back in '99 by the 76th legislature. The first rating came out in 2002, 2003. So this is the 16th year of the rating system for financial integrity. The primary goal was to ensure quality and the performance and management of the district's financial resources. And Los Fresnos has received the highest possible rating assignment each of those years. There have been many changes to the FIRST since its inception, and just recently they usually go about every 3 years before they make major shifts in how the ratings are assigned. The last transition years were 14, 15, and 16. They changed some indicators. They reduced it at first, then they replaced several of them with similar but different indicators. Then in 2017, they increased the score required for you to achieve in order to pass. Even though they had more indicators, the scores were going up. And there are additional changes proposed right now for 2020, 2021, which have just been released and we're finding out about now. Typically, you will see that, for example, this tonight's rating that we received is called the 2018 rating because that was the last year the district completed. However, it's based on data from the 16-17 school year. And the reason for that is the data has to be complete. You have to have a complete set of data. Then it has to be audited. Then the audit report has to be sent to TEA. TEA reviews it, and they accept it. And so by the time all of that happens, you're this far along. There is a paper-based report that was out in the lobby. You're welcome to pick one up, or if there are any left, If there aren't any left, you're welcome to ask us for it. We'll be happy to provide that. We do have some available. We will have copies available at the District Service Center as well. There are some other disclosures that have to be included in the report that I won't show on slides tonight because of the length, but they will be included in the paper report this evening. So in the past, again, I said most recently we used to be assigned a rating of either passed or failed. And now they've realigned the rating system for finance to match that for the students. So now we're assigned a letter grade, A through F. And the equivalents are given as superior for an A, above standard for a B, meet standard for a C, and substandard for anything less than a 70. The indicators are grouped into 3 separate groups. The first 5 indicators are called critical indicators, and you answer those. Those are simple questions that can be answered yes or no. And if you answer no to any of those indicators, you automatically are assigned a rating of below standard or substandard or an F. The next group of indicators, those 7 from number 6 through 12, they're called solvency indicators, and they give an indication of how much money the district has on hand, whether they're moving in the right direction or not. Then the final group of indicators, the last 3, are called financial competence indicators, and those give you an indication of whether or not the district is managing its finances correctly. So I'll jump right into the report. The first of that group, the critical indicators, we answered yes to all of those. They all refer to things that just they assume any district in good financial position would be able to accomplish without any trouble at all. That's why it's either yes or no. It's you either passed or you didn't. And it refers to things like, did you file your audit report on time? Well, one of the reasons that question is in there is because if there are issues with the audit, typically it takes longer. And those districts sometimes don't get their audit report filed on time. That's an automatic substandard rating. It talks about the opinion of the auditors. Was there an unmodified opinion? Did they find any material weaknesses? You don't want any of those, you don't want any material weaknesses in your report. So we were able to answer those in the affirmative, and that was fine. The next, and I know it says 5, and you're seeing 6 now on the screen, but question number 2 is divided into 2 parts, 2A and 2B. So in, excuse me, in number 3, talks about, did you pay all your debts? Was it in compliance with all the debt requirements, the debt agreements that we have? Yes, we did. And then follows that with, did the school make timely payments to TRS, the Texas Workforce, to the IRS, any government agencies? They want to make sure that you weren't late on any of your payments. Any one failure there to turn in something on time, and you're automatically substandard. So, of course, we got that done. And then it talks about the total unrestricted net asset balance. In other words, did you have a fund balance that was greater than 0? And of course, yes, we did. I'll move on to the scored indicators, and I know we've done this many times, that you all are quite familiar with these indicators, but I will just say that we scored the highest possible score for each one of these. It talks about your cash on hand. Remember, these are solvency indicators, so they want to know how likely is it that the district can continue operating into the future under the current administration. So it talks about how much cash you had, is there a net asset to liability, current assets to current liability ratio, is that correct, is that good or is that bad, and they have a system for judging that. And then long-term debt, things like that. We scored the highest in each of those areas. The rest of the solvency indicators, again, we scored the highest in each one of these. This year,
We improved on one of these, actually number 10. Last year we only achieved 2 points on, so I'll talk a little more in detail about that. That's the only difference between this year's and last year's report. Part of this public hearing is to contrast the current year to the prior year. So I would say that, just to tell you that everything is identical to the last year's report, except last year we only received 2 points for number 10. So I'll get to that in just a second. And then finally, the financial competence indicators, and it's talking about does your budget data that you submit to GEA, does it match what Peens is submitting, and within a 3% variation, and ours is 0.00003%. So we're very aligned with all of that data. No issues there. So we received 10 possible points, 10 out of 10 possible points for each one of those. So for each of those indicators, the sum of all those points is 100. There are 100 possible points there. The district earned all 100 of those points this year. And I said I would get back to number 10. Last year, and I recall that this is based on prior year data, so for fiscal year 17, which was based on 15-16 data, and if you recall, we did a recapitalization of our bond issues, and we got a lower interest rate. We actually saved the taxpayers about $3 million by reissuing the bonds with a lower rate there. Kind of like refinancing your home mortgage, but on a much larger scale. And if you recall, that skewed our numbers on this one. And I've plugged them in there just so that you can see what they are. We actually scored a ratio was 1.04. You had to, that only earned us 2 points on that. But there was a possible point system of 10. All you need to score 10 is 1.2. So it's a very close margin, the difference between a few points or not. If you look at the numbers for this year, in this year's report, you see we're way over. We're way over in that number. We're at 5.73, and you only need a 1.2 to get 10 points. So it was that 1 year we had that brief aberration, and that was because of the bond refunding. The way it's calculated, it just kind of skews that off. So we're back on track for a perfect season in finance, and I hope to continue to do that for a long time. So what was our rating? Well, we passed all of the critical indicators. If we had said no to any of those things, we would have been substandard, but we didn't. So we passed all of those without any problem. There was 100 possible points, and the district scored 100 points on each one of those. So we received an A. So I'm glad that we could bring the finance department along with academics, and we're both rated A's for 2018, and we couldn't be happier, prouder. I'm the one that gets to get up here and talk about it and get all the credit for everything, but obviously it's the people that are out there that make this happen on a day-to-day basis. We have a really good group of folks. Our principals on down have fallen in with the superintendent's belief that you can get it done. You can find a way to get it done, even if we're not the richest district around. We can still make it happen for our kids, and we always work together with that common goal to try to make that happen. So. Again, I'm very proud to announce the rating, and just thanks. Any questions, I should say. It's a public hearing. So.
Questions from the audience? Board members? We've run out of words, David. We really have. And, you and I have talked about a number just being a number, a rating when it stands alone just being a rating, but when you look around the districts around us that look like us and the things that they've gone through in the last 12 years, and we have not. And you stand there and you don't take any of the credit, and I understand that, and that's why you people work together with you and Dr. Salazar so well. But I remember about a dozen years ago, one small statement of, and I don't know exactly the year when the IFA money was available to us, and we passed that bond, which is the last time we had gone out. And at that point, I think the state was giving us close to 75 cents on the dollar, something like that, and the people supported us, and we were able to see that. That one little statement of that money's not going to be there, it may not be there ever again. We need to make plans to be able to build buildings, to do the things that we need to do facility-wise, and for our people, without going to the community and asking for extra money on taxes. And y'all have been able to do that every year. And there's an item tonight, and it goes unsung, but there's an item tonight on action items that we may. It's a resolution to designate $14 million out of our fund balance for future expenditures on facilities and things like that. When others around us are going out or jumping, there's one large school district that will go unnamed, that just went up something like 20-something cents, I think, or 18 cents on their taxes. We haven't had to do that. In fact, ours have gone down. Our people have gotten raises, and it's because of y'all's leadership. And we run out of words. I mean, we sit here and talk about it, but we don't know how lucky we are until we look at others. So thank you for your leadership and your commitment to the kids here. And you never really fell behind the academics. It was just that one little blimp in the screen. Comments from anyone? Yes, ma'am.
I believe that we owe Mr. Young and his employees a big round of applause, and from the audience as well.
Anyone else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Item number 2, sir.
Item number 2, we can raise the screens, if you will, technology, please. Section 180.007 of the Texas Local Government Code requires a public hearing be held when a government entity is considering adjusting compensation for contractual employees after a budget has been adopted. This evening, we have employees in 2 categories, and we pride ourselves in doing right by our employees. And an oversight on my part was that the fact that cheer and spirit is now considered a UIL sport. It's sanctioned by the UIL, and what should have happened was that I should have brought a recommendation to the board to, instead of a salary supplement for our cheerleading sponsors, to make that a UIL stipend. So to be clear, the reason for the increase in compensation is that the UIL has indicated the spirit or cheerleading is now a UIL sanctioned. As such, our cheerleading sponsors or coaches will be expected to coach the equivalent of a year-round sport and should have been placed on stipends in our compensation plan that we adopted at the beginning of the school year. The purpose of this item is to correct an oversight on my part during the adoption of the budget and compensation package. The proposed payment and terms are as follows. The employees will be awarded a coaching stipend of $7,500 for head coach and $4,600 for their assistants. The source of the proposed payment will be from local funds, as it is for other employees in this category. There's an additional category of employee, and that is an assistant principal. The reason for the increase in compensation is that on October 9th, 2018, I changed the assignment for Mr. Chris Brown from assistant principal at Rancho Verde Elementary to Los Fresnos, assistant principal at Los Fresnos United. His assignment was changed from elementary assistant principal, pay grade 2, and 206 days, to a high school assistant principal, pay grade 3, and 217 days. Now, this was a change in assignment due to the resignation of an employee in the middle of their contract. The purpose of this item is to seek authorization and properly compensate an employee who is working additional days and taking on additional duties that resulted from a change in assignment in the middle of the contract year. Again, the change in assignment was necessary to fill the vacancy that resulted from the resignation of an employee in the middle of the contract year. The proposed payment and terms are as follows. The employee will continue to be compensated in accordance with the monthly payroll and commensurate with the pay grade of those days and the additional duties as described in the job description. The source of and purpose of the payment will be again from local funds that remained in the budget from the exiting employee. I want to thank you in advance for your kind consideration, and at this time I would answer any questions that the board or the public may have. Mr. Amaya?
Just a reminder to the public, this is a public hearing on this. The only reason we're bringing it to you in this fashion, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just the timing of the change. That's the only reason. Usually this goes on and we take it all up as once, but because of the timing, the contract was already in existence and we have to do things, and the law says if we have to do things in this way, we have to go back to the public. That's the only reason it comes back this way. So is there any questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
No, sir. The employee was, for personal reasons, she resigned, and so no. The compensation is only paid for the days worked, and so the compensation that remained in the budget is what will be used to pay. What I did is changed the assignment to an employee who had been a secondary assistant principal in the past, and now he'll take on those responsibilities. Tonight we have a recommendation to fill the vacancy that he left at Rancho Verde, and those funds are also in the budget. Yes, sir, but when she resigns, she's only paid until the day that she last worked. And so the funds that were budgeted for the full year contract remain in the budget. So it doesn't impact the budget in any way. This is just a requirement that we come in a public hearing. Did I answer your question, sir? Thank you.
Anyone else? Board members? Audience? I think that concludes our public hearings. We'll go out to district recognitions. Dr. Salazar.
Mr. Amaya, members of the board, we continue with district recognitions two times out of the year, once in the fall and once in the spring. We set time aside to recognize the accomplishments of our teachers. Every month we bring recognitions to our students, and today is one of those evenings where we recognize the achievements of our teachers. And here to help us do that, we have several administrators. Let me turn my page. We're going to begin with administrators at Los Fresnos United, and here to introduce us and tell us about the teachers that we are recognizing from Los Fresnos United is Mr. Stumbaugh, Mr. Justin Stumbaugh, principal of Los Fresnos High School.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and Dr. Salazar. Tonight I have the privilege to introduce two teachers who have completed their master's degree from Los Fresnos United. I'm going to start with Mr. Carlos Bruce. As Mr. Bruce makes his round, he completed his master's in instructional technology at Texas A&M College Station. He is an LFHS alumni and currently teaches CTE courses. So congratulations to Mr. Bruce on his master's degree in instructional technology. At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Linda Galvan to make her way up. Ms. Linda Galvan is an ELA teacher at Los Fresnos United. She recently received her master's in curriculum and instruction from Walden University. I'd like to congratulate Ms. Linda Galvan on this accomplishment.
Good evening, Mr. Amaya, members of the board, and Dr. Salazar. I am pleased to bring up to the front Mr. Lázaro Arredondo. Please join us. He has been a district employee for 16 years. He started his career at PLE as an ABU teacher and then moved into a resource position for the last 14 years. This past school year, he started at LFE as the upper ABU teacher and joined our RVE team last Tuesday with his students. He just completed his master's in administration from Lamar University. Mr. Arredondo loves working with children and looks forward to learning more in administration so he can continue to grow within our district. Congratulations, Mr. Arredondo.
Good evening, Mr. Amaya, members of the board, and Dr. Salazar. I am here to proudly present Ms. Elisa Torres from Dora Romero Elementary, who just received her master's in curriculum and instruction from the TRGV. She has been teaching for 11 years, 7 years at Dora Romero. Very proud of that. We're very happy and excited to be here. Elisa Torres is currently a first grade teacher who cares for each child as if they were her own words. From planning intentional lessons to sharing ideas with her colleagues and then collaborating with others to meet the needs of all the students that drives her daily instruction. Ms. Torres is very involved in her community. She plays the flute for the church choir and is a member of the Catholic Daughters of America, as well as the Alpha Delta Table. On behalf of DRE, congratulations, Ms. Torres, for your master's in curriculum and instruction.
At the lectern was Ms. Trevino, instructional officer for Dora Romero Elementary School, and before that we had the proud principal of Rancho Verde Elementary, Mrs. Pineda. I want to make sure that we also recognize Los Cuates Middle School teacher, Karen Ramirez, who got a master's in curriculum and instruction, could not be with us this evening. Two teachers out of Resaca Middle School, Mr. Juan Diego Luna and Vanessa Rodriguez. Mr. Luna got a master's degree in organizational leadership. Mrs. Rodriguez, a master's in educational leadership. And out of the DSC, out of the special ed department, Ms. Nayeli Nelsie Garcia, a master's in psychology. Let's give them a round of applause in their absence. Ladies and gentlemen, we are proud of the fact that our teachers are demonstrating lifelong learning for our students, and very, very, very proud to be recognizing them this evening. Mr. Meyer.
Significant others. If the significant others are in the crowd, please stand, because you're taking double duty at home, so please stand so we can thank you as well.
Thank you, teachers.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Salazar, tonight I am extremely proud that we get to recognize some very talented students here at Los Fresnos High School. Tonight we're going to recognize two sets of students. We're going to recognize AP scholars, and we're also going to recognize National Hispanic Scholars. We're going to start first with our AP scholars, and just a little bit of background information. This year we had 37 AP scholars. The ones that you're going to see recognized were juniors that are seniors now that are going to be recognized, so they have a chance to move up as well in designations, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. So again, these are juniors that you're going to see recognized. We had 37 last year total, which is 26% of the number of students that took AP tests. So we're very proud of their hard work, and I know the time and commitment it takes to study for these tests. We're going to start with our AP scholars. These are students who scored a 3 or higher on 3 or more exams. We'll start with Mr. Nathaniel Braun. Gabriela Cuevas. Caroline de la Garza. Kiara Jimenez. Cheyenne McCord. Christian Ogal. Debbie Reese. Allison Spear. Do we want parents to take a quick picture?
Parents, could you rise? Could you stand so we can thank you, recognize you for your accomplishments too, and your leadership.
Thank you, guys. The next students we will recognize are going to be our AP Scholars with Honors. These are students who scored a 3 or higher on 4 or more exams. We'll start it off with Jose Carlos. Angela de la Cruz Martinez. Isis Delgado. Jolie Gonzalez. Chancellor Wyatt. If there are any parents who would like to take a picture of our AP Scholars with Honors.
And please stand. Please stand if you're taking a picture. Please stand so we can recognize you. Thank you very much.
Our last level of AP scholars that we'll recognize tonight is an AP scholar with distinction. These students have scored a 3 or higher on 5 or more exams. We have 2 that we'll recognize tonight, starting with Juan Alvarado. And Noé León.
If Juan or Noé's parents are in the audience, would you please stand so we can thank you and recognize you? Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Come on out, guys. The next group of students that we will recognize tonight have achieved a great academic distinction. Each year, the College Board's National Hispanic Recognition Program recognizes high-performing students from across the country. These students have scored the top 2.5% among Hispanic students taking the junior year administration of the PSAT. In addition to receiving a top score on the PSAT, these students had to meet the added requirement of holding at least a 3.5 GPA by the middle of their junior year. Even though the College Board does not award a monetary scholarship with this award, achieving this distinction very often leads to scholarship dollars from universities. Last year, in the class of 2018, we had 11 National Hispanic Recognized Scholars. This year, we have 18 for the class of 2019, so a testimony to their hard work and dedication to their academics. We'll go ahead and start with our first National Hispanic Scholar, which is Juan Alvarado. Jenna Capps. Jose Carlos. Caroline de la Garza. Isis Delgado. Noé, sorry. No, yeah, go ahead, Noé. Noé León. Eduardo Martinez. Jose Martinez. Debbie Reese. And Annalisa Solis.
I know we have a lot of, I think we have a lot of proud parents in the audience. If you could please stand so we could recognize and thank you.
Most of these students are involved in extracurricular activities too, so you see some will double dip into AP scholars as well. So a lot of time management skills have to go into where they're at. So as the principal, we're very proud of you. As the administrative staff and teachers, congratulations on a well-deserved accomplishment.
We have some high school allotment presentations. I think we'll need the screens down again.
It's for them if they want to.
No screens, I'm sorry.
No, you can keep them. You can keep them. That way you can see what I'm referring to, if that'll help.
Mr. Stumba, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Salazar, tonight I'm going to present some key points of the high school allotment for both Los Fresnos High School and Los Fresnos United. As a high school principal, the high school allotment is my best friend. It helps to fund initiatives and a lot of things that I can do that we're able to provide students opportunities post-secondary wise, just preparing them for life outside of high school. Couple of key points. You can see the total amount there for Los Fresnos High School is about $510,000 for high school allotment. Couple of key points that I want to focus on is if on the fourth page here of our high school allotment plan is TSI testing. TSI testing we funded out of high school allotment, which is used to pay for an English and math assessment to have students that are successful on it, keep them from remedial courses when they enter the post-secondary world with a 2-year or 4-year school. So we use that so students do not have to pay the first time. There is a small retesting fee on the second time, or if they choose to do that. But we do fund TSI testing out of the high school allotment there. The next goal, this is a big chunk of the high school allotment and what we use it for, is program goal 3 here is to dual enrollment and advanced placement programs and increase enrollment participation in post-secondary courses at Los Fresnos High School. High school allotment helps to pay our dual enrollment partners for every student at TSC, TSTC, or at Lamar, which we do have one course that we use through Lamar, so students are not able to have to pay for anything out of their pocket, and we can make sure that they go to college and take the charges for them, and they can get the hours. And I think it frees up families financially so students can move forward further, faster in their post-secondary career. Also in this goal, it allows us to have our academic achievement banquet, which we have every year at the Brownsville Event Center. It also funds for our graduation diplomas, programs, ceremony. As you know, graduation is quite a ceremony, and so it takes a lot of work to get it planned, and this program helps us to fund for that as well. It also allows us to provide textbooks, so students don't have to provide textbooks as well for their dual enrollment or AP courses. The next goal talks about tutorials. We do use high school allotment to fund our AP dual enrollment tutorials. In order to have success on AP exams and to have the success of the students that we just recognized tonight and others, we do require tutorials on those exams, at least 2 during the day and 1 on the weekend, so we can ensure that they are successful when they take those exams, because we don't want them to go in cold and not have any familiarity with the content, especially if they took it in the fall and the test is into the spring. So we do fund tutorials for that, so students as well. We also fund TSI tutorials. We do the same thing with TSI. We have our students, and we don't want them going in cold, so they must attend a tutorial before they can take the test, usually on a Saturday. The next goal talks a little bit about supplies, which helps us to provide CALs. If you don't know, TSC provides us our dual enrollment platform, which is Canvas, which is all online. So we need a lot of computers and functioning computers, so high school allotment allows us to provide for that. When we need CALs also to increase technology on the campus, whether it's short throw projectors or other kinds of technology teachers may need, we're able to lean on the high school allotment. The last thing I want to talk about, and is a big goal for us, the high school allotment has allowed us to provide for 3 staff in the College Center. College Center has been a great blessing for us at Los Fresnos High School. I think we're able to provide kids a lot more counseling, one-to-one. We're also to provide opportunities and scholarships that I don't know that we couldn't reach every kid without that opportunity to have the College Center. So that does fund quite a bit of the high school allotment funds quite a bit of that, but I think it's well worth the results speak for itself as far as the College Center. Those are kind of the key points. Any questions? That's Los Fresnos High School. I still have to get to Los Fresnos United, but any questions as far as Los Fresnos High School and the high school allotment? Anything? Any questions? Los Fresnos United, again, same thing. I think Ms. Stumble will tell you that the high school allotment is our best friend when it comes to doing things on campus initiatives. Some key points for her. I've got to go through it. It's marked differently. Slide 16. She uses it to fund a couple of different things. One, all of her English teachers will be attending the National ELA Conference, which is going to be held in Houston this year. So she's going to use that to make sure teachers can continue their professional growth. She also uses it for a book study in which her English department and math department are doing a department-wide book study. Math is reading The Math Chef, Recipe for Successes, and English is reading Sparks in the Dark. So she used that to do small PLCs and have teachers talk about their professional growth. Like the high school, she also uses high school allotment to provide CALs. 21 teachers are now involved in her technology integration campus program, which means they have campus access to a CAL 50% of the week and attend campus professional learning sessions 3 times per year to collaborate and integrate technology.
Just for those that don't speak education needs, a CAL is a computer on wheel. We're not buying cattle.
Yep. They're not roaming the pasture.
Anybody
It's a
out there,
computer on wheel, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. And then, of course, kind of like Los Fresnos High School, dual enrollment course costs are also funded out of her high school allotment plan. The department, the number of dual enrollment, we see it consistently. The number of dual enrollment students wanting to take it is increasing every year, which is a great thing. So high school allotment allows us to make sure kids don't have to pay out of pocket, families don't have to pay out of pocket, which is a big, big plus when it comes to that. Those are some of the key points, very similar to some of the things that we do at Los Fresnos High School. Again, I'll open it up if you have any questions in regards to the Los Fresnos High School United Plan.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Mr. Stumble.
Thank you
very, very much for everything you do.
Thank you.
I just want to mention, Mr. Maya, that Mrs. Stumba, principal at Los Fresnos United, is a director at the regional level of an organization that advocates for public schools, and she's doing great work at the regional area, and that's why she couldn't be with us tonight. But she is doing great work for our students, advocating for our students.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Treviño.
I just did also want to comment about the Go Center there at the high school and stuff. Money very well spent there. Definitely seeing return on that, so very good.
Thank you, sir. District reports, Dr. Salazar.
Mr. Maya, members of the board, we present to you the monthly reports. You'll find the reports rather pedestrian this time of year. It's only been a month into the fiscal year. So, but at this time we would entertain any questions you might have.
No, the pedestrian was for don't ask questions, right? Why?
No, sir, not at all.
All right. That's all right. It's okay. It is cute, but we have a protected group up here. There is an attorney, and certain groups are protected by law, so we need to be aware of that. I'm referring to senior citizens.
David told me to use that term. I got to throw him under the bus.
David fits that term. He's protected as well, I think.
Okay, item number 2 under reports is our fundraising plan for the last several years. For a number of years now, we've been bringing you this report that shows you how our students are working to, students and their sponsors are working to generate the revenue for additional experiences. And also our field trip report is included here. You'll find that we have tried to streamline the experiences at each grade level, but we are providing options at the elementary grade levels, different grade levels, where we are providing options, but making sure that the experience don't repeat themselves year after year. So it's a very well thought out field trip plan. And for the last report, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Amaya.
No questions on what Dr. Salazar presented? Really, I'm very, very, very proud to be able to present this. I'm going to read something that comes out of our policy first. This is Board Policy BBD Legal. Annually at the last regular meeting of the board before an election, the president shall announce, and the minutes must reflect the name of each board member who has completed the required hours of training and who is deficient in the required training as of the date of the meeting, which is tonight. The president shall cause the minutes to reflect the information and shall make this information available to the local media. This comes from the Texas Education Code. This year, I think it's a bit different in the fact that when I am reading out the board members' names, this year, I think, I had never seen it before, but the board training was broken up into tiers and different areas where we must attend and we must receive the professional development. Tier 1 is orientation and updates such as legal updates. Tier 2 is team building. Tier 3 is any additional based on assessed needs from our district. And Tier 4 is student achievement. It is with great pride that I report Jesus Amaya met the required training hours. Mr. Leonel Garza has met the required training hours. Ms. Sandra Garcia has met the required training hours. Mr. Martin Castillo has met the required training hours. Mr. Ray Farias has met the required training hours. Mr. Ruben Treviño has met the required training hours. And Ms. Darlene Peterson has met the required training hours. I know it's difficult for the board and you especially, Dr. Salazar, to get us together for some of these because everybody's schedule is so difficult. You stick to it until we finally find a way and we get there. And I want to thank the board as well that we reflect the same type of pride that both financial and academically the rest of our district does. So thank you all for your dedication to the students of our community. Thank you very much. All right, public audience. Nobody has signed up in public audience tonight. We go to consent agenda. tonight. Consent agenda has 15 items on it, as we have in the past. At this point, I will accept a motion to approve consent agenda as posted, or pull any item that a board member might want pulled for discussion. Do I have a motion? Mr. Farias.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as posted.
Is there a second? Mr. Garza. We have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda, all 15 items as posted. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. It is unanimous, 6-0. Move to action items. Action item number 1. Made mention to this item earlier this evening. Discuss and take action to approve a resolution committing $14 million for future capital improvement projects for fiscal year 2018. That's because the money came from 2018. Is that correct, David? That's why I stated that way. Thank you, sir. Is there a motion? Mr. Trevino. Is there a second? Mr. Garza. We have a motion and a second to approve a resolution committing $14 million for future capital improvement projects for fiscal year 2018. Discussion. There being no discussion, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution committing $14 million for future capital improvement projects for fiscal year 2018. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. It is unanimous. Item number 2, discuss and take action to approve as substantial completion of the high school fire alarm upgrade to Safeguard Fire of Mission, Texas. Is there a motion? Mr. Garza. Second? Ms. Peterson. We have a motion and a second to approve substantial completion of the high school fire alarm upgrade to Safeguard Fire of Mission, Texas. Discussion. There being no discussion, motion and second to approve as substantial completion of the high school fire alarm upgrade, Safeguard Fire of Mission, Texas. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. So again, it is Item number 3, discuss and take action to approve to add, revise, or delete local policies as recommended by TASB Policy Service and according to the instruction sheet for the TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 111. This is the first reading. Do I have a motion? Ms. Peterson? Is there a second? Mr. Castillo? We have a motion and a second on item number 3 to approve to add, revise, or delete local policies as recommended by TASB Policy Service and according to the instruction sheet for the TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 111 is the first reading. Discussion. These updates seem to be coming more and more often. It used to be like once a year or once a biennium, and now it's like every weekend. I don't know where they're meeting to revise them, but they come very often now. There being no discussion, only snide remarks. We have a motion and a second to approve to add, revise, or delete local policies as recommended by TASB Policy Service and according to the instruction sheet for the TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 111, the first reading. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. Item number 4, discuss and take action to approve out-of-state student travel. In this case, it's the Los Fresnos High School Band traveling to Orlando, Florida, May 26th through the 31st of 2019. Is there a motion? Ms. Peterson.
I'll move, sir.
Second? Mr. Farias. Motion and a second to approve out-of-state student travel. Los Fresnos High School Band traveling to Orlando, Florida, May 26th through the 31st of 2019. Discussion. We have no discussion, but we do have a first and a second to approve this out-of-state student travel to Orlando, Florida, May 26th to the 21st of next year, 2019. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. It is unanimous. Item number 5, discuss and take action authorizing administration to create the position of Assistant Chief Financial Officer for the 2018-2019 school year. Is there a motion? Mr. Castillo. We have a second.
I'll second
Ms.
that.
Peterson. We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? We have a motion and a second to authorize administration to create the position of Assistant Chief Financial Officer for the 2018-2019 school year. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. It is unanimous. This action item is in reference to what we had earlier today. Discuss and take action to approve the superintendent's personnel recommendations for the following contractual employees for the 2018-2019 school year. Item A, compensation stipend adjustment for UIL coaching positions, head cheer sponsor and coach, and assistant cheer sponsor and coach. And item B, compensation pay grade adjustment resulting from change of assignment for campus administrator, elementary assistant principal, and high school assistant principal. Is there a motion? Mr. Trevino.
Yes, Mr. Amaya. I move that we approve the superintendent's personnel recommendations for the following contractual employees for the 2018-2019 school year. A, compensation stipend adjustment for UIL coaching positions, head cheer sponsor, coach Mrs. Francesca A. Perales, assistant cheer sponsor, coach Mr. Miguel Corona and Miss Olivia Ann Molina. And B, compensation pay grade adjustment resulting from change of assignment for campus administrator, elementary assistant principal to high school assistant principal, Mr. Chris Brown.
You have a second? Mr. Farias? You want to repeat it? Just kidding, Coach. Just kidding. All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. We have a motion and a second that was read quite well and quite clearly by Mr. Trevino. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. It's unanimous. Item number 7, discuss and take action to approve the superintendent's personnel recommendations for the following positions for the 2018-2019 school year. First item is diagnostician, and the second item is assistant principal. Do we have a motion? Mr. Castillo. Is there a second? Mr. Farias. Discussion on item number 7, superintendent's personnel recommendations. Have no discussion, but we do have a motion again to approve the superintendent's personnel recommendations for the positions, the 2018-2019 school year, position of diagnostician, and the position of assistant principal. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. Are either of our new employees here today? Please stand. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the family, but like all large families, sometimes we fight a little bit. We get over it. At this time, we're going to go into closed session. It is 7:09. It is 7:25. We're back in session. Hold on. Here we go. Open session. Item number 1, we do not need to take action on. Item number 2, discuss and take action to approve the formative performance evaluation of superintendent as discussed in executive session. Do I have a motion? Mr. Trevino?
Yes, Mr. Amaya, I move that we approve the formative performance evaluation of the superintendent as we discussed in executive session.
Is there a second?
Sir, I'll second it.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a motion and a second to approve the formative performance evaluation of superintendent as discussed in executive session. Discussion? Comments? In a court of law, a quick jury is usually guilty. That's what I watch TV. I know that. All right, so we have no discussion again, just 9 remarks. Quick. Yeah, all of those. Kangaroo court, all of them. I have a motion and a second to approve the formative performance evaluation of the superintendent as discussed in executive session. There is no discussion. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. It is unanimous. Again, we run out of words, sir.
Give a comment, sir? Jemai, do you mind if I give a comment?
Absolutely, ma'am. I do not mind.
Sir, I just want to say that we are so proud of you to be able to call you Dr. Salazar.
Any other comments? No. Announcements?
Yes, sir. We have, we have several. The Lady Falcon volleyball team will host Harlingen High on October 16th. That's tomorrow evening at 6:30. The Falcon football team will also be hosting the Rivera Raiders Friday, October 19th at 7:30 p.m. It is Parents' Night and Sponsor Appreciation Night, so that's the evening that we set up the tent and have a dinner. Hopefully you can make it. Budget committee, on Saturday the 20th, we do have Pigskin Jubilee, and I have tickets for all of you. Budget committee meeting on October 29th at 6 p.m. here, and the regular school board meeting, our next regular school board meeting is on November 12th at 6 p.m. at this same location. Those are all the announcements we have.
Any questions? No questions. It is 7:28. Meeting adjourned.